I'm Nick, and I'm joined by Peaty the dog with another obnoxious post about qualified immunity. Say hello to the people, Peaty.
Oh, hello. I'm Peaty.
Okay. I just wrote a long, obnoxious Facebook post, and I'm going to be obnoxious on Instagram by reading that Facebook post, except this time you get to look at Peaty the dog while that happens. So excuse me for looking down at my computer, but I figured that was a better way to keep this, sort of, kind of concise, although brevity is not my strong suit. So while I wait for the rain to die down so that I can take Peaty the dog out to do his cacas, that's what I call it when I talk to him, because why stop at one caca? I thought I would take a moment here to touch on an important detail about the Ending Qualified Immunity Act and how that aspect of Justin Amash's bill is different from the Qualified Immunity Reform provision in the Justice in Policing Act, which you may have heard of and seen people talking about on news shows and what have you. So you can get caught up with all of that stuff in my previous Instagram TV videos. I'm so not used to... Okay, look here, Peaty. Look here at the camera. In a nutshell, the legal doctrine of qualified immunity was invented by the Supreme Court and essentially makes it so that a government agent can't be found guilty in a civil suit of violating your rights unless the courts have found someone guilty before for violating someone's rights in exactly the same way under exactly the same circumstances. This is why it's next to impossible to win in court, not only against cops who kill or beat up citizens when they shouldn't, but even against bureaucrats who might violate your rights. In fact, the case that gave us this doctrine came from a dispute that had nothing to do with police brutality. So Justin Amash, Libertarian congressperson from Michigan, recently introduced the Ending Qualified Immunity Act in the House of Representatives. The bill quickly picked up support from Democrats and eventually at least one Republican. The language of that bill is uncomplicated and unambiguous. You can't find that text on congress.gov yet, but Amash posted images of the full text to his Facebook page, so you can go find Justin Amash on Facebook and you'll find all that stuff there. The thing that's most important to this video or the post on Facebook is that Amash's bill would make it so that qualified immunity is no longer a defense for, quote, defendants. That's as far as it goes to define the scope of who can no longer benefit from the legal doctrine of qualified immunity, just plain old defendants. In other words, it ceases to be a thing that people can benefit from in court no matter what their government jobs are or who they are. So why is this important? When I wrote to my own congressperson, Donna Shalala, I got 2 emails. All of this is detailed in those previous videos and in previous Facebook posts. In the second email, Shalala's office told me that she was also concerned with, quote, reforming qualified immunity, and that she would be supporting, as a result, the Justice in Policing Act, which has provisions related to this legal doctrine in it. It is true that Republicans tend to be far too cozy with police unions and far too eager to shield cops from the consequences of their bad decisions. However, Republicans don't have a monopoly on shady intragovernmental cronyism, and cops are not the only public employees capable of fucking you over. Shalala's letter to me, and presumably the language that she sent some other people who might have expressed concern about this, treats it as a given that the dispositive language of the Ending Qualified Immunity Act has been folded into the Justice in Policing Act. And that's what they want you to think as well. But there is a slimy, sleazy political sleight of hand happening here. I'm not saying that this is Donna Shalala's doing. She's supporting this thing, but maybe she's also been duped. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe someone also tricked her. Here is the relevant language from the Justice in Policing Act. Quote, this is from section 102 of that bill. It shall not be a defense or immunity to any action brought under this section against a local law enforcement officer, as defined in section 2 of the Justice in Policing Act of 2020, or a state correctional officer, as defined in section 1121B of Title 18, United States Code. And then it goes on to describe qualified immunity. So did you see what they did there? You would be forgiven, don't be too hard on yourself, if you missed it. Remember how the Qualified Immunity Act refers to eliminating a qualified immunity defense for defendants in civil suits? In other words, every government agent who might be sued by you or me or your neighbors or whoever. The Justice in Policing Act instead, quote, reforms the application of this legal doctrine rather than killing it by singling out some law enforcement officers. Again, it shall not be a defense or immunity to any action brought under this section against a local law enforcement officer or a state correctional officer. Look how excited Peaty is about this subject. So while your reformer heroes in Congress are happy to kill qualified immunity as a defense for local cops who violate your rights, Peaty, you gotta relax. They're not prepared to stop shielding federal law enforcement or even other agents of local government when they screw you. You want to sue someone in government for impeding your exercise of your right to vote? Were you unjustly denied the right to carry a weapon by your government? Did a Did a spiteful or a spicy government official revoke your business license and cost you money unjustly? Did a school violate your kid's right to express himself or herself somehow? Were you discriminated against in the process of applying for a government contract? Which, by the way, is, again, where the doctrine of qualified immunity as we know it comes from. Were your privacy rights violated when government regulators rifled through your records at a doctor's office without consent? Which, by the way, is what one of the cases was about that the Supreme Court did not hear just now, where qualified immunity was the defense. So these are real examples. Did an FBI agent beat the shit out of you or kill you when they shouldn't have? Did a member of Congress or their staff violate your rights somehow? Well, guess what? You, to put it in non-legal language, although it might as well be the legal language, can go fuck yourself. You should have gotten punched by a local cop instead. Instead of taking a position, Donna Shalala and others could make it so that you can sue for damages by voting for the Ending Qualified Immunity Act. Instead of taking a position on that simple bill where the meat of the law is just one short paragraph, I know, if only I had Amash's brevity, and the whole thing fits into a short Instagram post, they've buried a far weaker qualified immunity provision in a bill that is more than 22,000 words long. So sure, some lawmakers, namely Republicans, are afraid to upset police unions. But what if the qualified immunity provision in the Justice and Policing Act is designed to protect every other public sector employee when they violate your rights? If you see this the way that I do, I would encourage you to write to your representative in the House and let them know that you are not interested in reforming qualified immunity. Qualified immunity doesn't make sense for anyone, no matter what their job description is when they violate your rights. And this has been a message from me and also Peaty. Peaty, what say you? I know.